Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Trafford Talk. Myself and Robbie again. We're still on this kind of obviously Euro predictions because the Euros is just 7 days away, I believe. Exciting times.
Yeah,
I cannot wait. Robbie's, as you can see, donning his Scotland hoodie there. He's very happy, I think, after they won 2-2. Big result, 2-2 with Holland. He's
well,
treating it.
It's still a good
treating
result, Alexa, you know, and what I take from it is the fact that half of our team have COVID, and you know, at least it's happened before the tournaments fully began, because that'd be terrible. And
yeah,
it was something to watch anyway. Unlike the England Austria game where Bukayo Saka had about 5 chances to score, and they finally managed to score. But you know, I actually put that in the post whenever we were going live about we shouldn't talk about England and Scotland, but you know, we were always going anyway.
Especially as obviously I have an England shirt on and you have a Scotland shirt on, but obviously to everyone who wants to watch some England Scotland content, myself, Robbie, Bits and Bobs is a friend of the channel, really great guy, and Ahmed are going to be doing England Scotland kind of thing tomorrow. I mean, if we want, we can just abuse each other for half an hour, or an hour even.
It's funny, mate, because you know we've never done anything like this. We're usually on the same side, on the same team almost, and
yeah,
we're not used to it. But yeah, guys, obviously, if you want to join the fantasy football team as well, I'll get the code into the chat just now. I think there's over 40 people on the Euro 2020 Fantasy League. Alexi's not one of them. He's still yet to make his team. He's leaving it late. But I've got my team in. I want to win. We're giving away a retro United top, and you know the winner takes it all. So and it also gets bragging rights as well, which I would absolutely love. Don't know about you, Alexi.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be nice for me because obviously when England win the Euros and I win the fantasy football as well, it's kind of quite a nice combination. I mean, it'd be nice for you to win it because obviously it's going to be pretty brutal for you coming fourth in a group and, you know, in your first tournament.
Anyway.
How long? Right, sorry, yeah. Right, let's move on. We will cover all of this tomorrow on the show tomorrow. But today we're talking about Group B. Group B contains Denmark, Finland, Belgium and Russia. Quite an interesting group because obviously Belgium the better team, and then the other three seem quite even. We'll start with Belgium actually. Sorry, it just seems to make more sense because they're the best team. Belgium start on the June the 12th against Russia. Obviously they have been number one in the world at points. They've got outrageous players. I mean, in March they beat Belarus 8-0 in a World Cup qualifier. Romelu Lukaku is on fire at the moment. It's a very exciting team. Obviously, an issue is Kevin De Bruyne is injured for them, and they've still got some of their old guard in there. They've still got Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Vermaelen still about. But Robbie, I think I know we've got to talk about it in the context of this group, but I think we can both presume they're going to go through. But who do you look at as their key players? But also, as a whole, how far do you think Belgium will actually go in the whole tournament?
Yeah, so I don't think they'll go, you know, very, very far. I think, yes, they have a good team, but I think it'll be very difficult, you know, I think it'll be very difficult for them to actually pull through, down to the fact that they do have an aging team in the sense of, you know, they've got Vertonghen and Alderweireld at centre half. You know, they've got Denier next to them, who's much younger, as we all know. He's been about, played in the Champions League before, things like that. And you go further up the park, and there's obviously a lot of class. I mean, I've got quite a lot of the guys in my fantasy team as well. You know, I went with Lukaku. I'll probably go with him as my captain. I'd be just down to the fact that, you know, he has 11 million. I do know, obviously he's very expensive, but you know, he always scores. He always scores for Belgium, and you know, maybe Eden Hazard, you can't ever rule him out. Thanks, guys, obviously, for tuning in. We're obviously doing Group B and C at the moment. You know, it's probably
bang on there, I think, isn't he? Because hi, Connor, by the way. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Do you agree, Robbie, that the defence for Belgium, because I guess Company's not there, and
yeah. So like, see, what I've done is in my team, I'm doing a 3-4-3 in my fantasy team, and I was thinking Jason Denayer, he's only 4.5 million, and Alderweireld and Vertonghen are 5.5 million. So I was thinking, why not go for him? He's in quite a poor group, no disrespect to other teams, but at Belgium's level, they should easily qualify and they should keep clean sheets along the way. And I'm using Limitless in match 2, which allows me to make as many changes as I want. So I'll probably, get rid of Denayer whenever they're playing Denmark in match day 2. But the other teams, Russia and Finland, they're not at the same level. So apart from that, I went with Castagnier or Meunier, but I've not got a clue what one would start. They do seem to always go with the 5 at the back formation. It could literally go either way. And Thorgan Hazard's on the other side, so I can't even go with the left back.
It's interesting, isn't it, in a way that they set up with 3 at the back when seemingly they don't have that many centre halves, Obviously, I mean, from a fantasy point of view, you've got your luxury players in there, haven't you, as well? Obviously, Lukaku could easily be top scorer at this tournament. He's been on absolute fire for Inter Milan. Obviously, De Bruyne. And Hazard, last tournament, you would say it's a shoo-in that he'd be brilliant, but we don't know with him anymore, do we? I mean, he's had a difficult year at Real Madrid, so it's hard to rely on him. I mean, I personally, if I was recommending from the fantasy point of view, I wouldn't go for Hazard. Eden Hazard, that is.
Well, Alexi, I had him in my first draft actually because I was looking at it. I was talking to my friends as well from home about it, and you're like, what about Hazard? He's always good with Belgium, and you do get that where certain players do excel. And
Bale.
Yeah, like Bale. Bale's just a wee bit too expensive, which I said in the last video. If you guys haven't watched that, you should, because it did go down well and we really enjoyed it, Alexi. And I've actually now put Shaqiri into my team as well. Who's probably their only good players for Switzerland going forward. So that's throwing a spanner into the works, but he's a cheaper option, and I do believe that Eden Hazard is maybe just too expensive at 10 million, and I think there's other alternatives you could go with. So I think we should move on to other teams because we all know what Belgium can do. We all know that they've got a.
So I think we'll both say they're top in the group. I think we can presume this.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Denmark. Denmark, every tournament, they always seem to be that kind of team where you go, oh, could they do something here? I mean, they're kind of always the dark horses. Obviously, something quite wholesome. You've got Kasper Michael playing for Denmark. Obviously, his dad Peter was brilliant for them when he played for them. In their fixtures. In their last 8 fixtures, they've scored 23 times and conceded 6 goals, which is pretty impressive. And they have quite a lot of talent. I mean, defensively, they've got obviously Schmeichel, Kjær and Christensen. In midfield, they've got Højbjerg. Up front, they've got Dolberg and Martin Braithwaite. I mean, obviously, Martin Braithwaite's a bit hit and miss, but they've got they've got a good spine, I think. If your spine, Schmeichel, Christensen, Højbjerg and Braithwaite, for example, that... I don't know about you. I think they could do quite well in this group. Yeah,
I mean, I think that they've got a great team. I think they've got they can come into this as underdogs. But the one thing that they are missing is an out-and-out striker. They've got Dolberg, Braithwaite, and Yusuf Poulsen seem to play out wide. So it's really between Wind, Dolberg, possibly Braithwaite. But I think their talisman will be Christian Eriksen, who also is in my team. And I've got him in my team because he takes the penalties, he takes the free kicks, he takes the corners. So he basically is their main man going forward. And surely against Finland and Russia, that's their first 2 games. No, sorry, that's their first game and the third game, which I have Christian Eriksen in for. I think it's a good shout, to be honest. I think, if he gets a penalty, free kick, we know what he can do. And he's not had a bad season, and he's finally managed to kind of get himself together. And, talking elsewhere about the attackers, I don't think the rest of them will actually do much. I think it will be down to Eriksen, which I think will be their downfall. And you obviously go further back with their defence. As you say, Alexi, you're talking about their numbers. It's amazing. The way they defend. and the players they have in defence, it's an absolute unit. I was
I mean,
tossing up Michael to be in goals. I went with
yeah,
another player who I'll discuss in the next few days. But I have got, this is another toss up because Christensen for me, I'm talking about fantasy here, it's 5.5 million, which for me I think that's too expensive. I like you'll soon see whenever you go into build your team. I think 4.5 for a centre back is enough. So I think Simon Kjær, you know he's going to be a lock in. You know he's going to start possibly clean sheet against Finland in the first day. They've not really got much going for them.
0-0 written all over it, hasn't it?
But, you know, and then they've got Meyer as the left back who plays for Atlanta. He's 4.5 million, and you know he's got good returns, good assists, good goals. I think he's going to be one of the up and coming prospects of the tournament as well. So he'll be quite interesting to watch. He's a real unit, good guy going forward, and he helps his team elsewhere.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think Denmark, kind of like we said, Switzerland the other day. I think that if I was looking into Denmark, I'd probably go for someone like Schmeichel. Who do you think will win the Euros? England.
I think Scotland will win.
Who do you think will win the Euros, Robbie?
Scotland, but we'll soon see, because what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to do the tournament predictor, which will be on the Euro app, and myself and Alexi will probably sit down and try and discuss who will make it through the knockout round and who will finally win it. Because if you look at it next to the fantasy section, you know there is an opening for that, so that'll be interesting to keep track of, Alexi, as we go on, because and we have tried to obviously predict the group as best as we can, but you know it's hard enough if we've seen one friendly so far.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think obviously we will say who we think is going to win the whole thing. I mean, I think probably it would be France or something, but we will approach that kind of thing when we get to it. But obviously, I've got to say England, and Robbie has to say Scotland. So we'll move on to Russia, who are a very interesting side, because in the World Cup, no one really thought too much of them, and then they knocked out Spain, which was pretty funny, wasn't it? I mean, you're kind of looking. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but so they've got Artem Dzyuba up front, who's genuinely a very good goal scorer. Mario Fernandez, very good. Yuri Zhirkov is still there. Is that possible? I
think he's 38 now, 37, 38. So yeah, he is still going. He also plays a very, demanding role. He plays left wing back now, which is crazy. And
I mean, he's been about since he was at the 2008 Euros. I remember him with that, because Russia used to be quite exciting when they had Arshavin. I mean, they have actually got a lot of good players. Sobolev, Mario Fernandez is a very good fullback. Alexei Miranchkov is also a very good player. They've got good players, but I
still can't see them getting through.
No,
it's one of those things, right? And I'm looking at this just now, Alexei, because I know guys, you are thinking, how do you know all these players? Like I have always looked into fantasy football. I do enjoy it, but I've also got the teams sitting in front of me, the predicted lineups with their price tags next to them, and I look at it. I just think so many of these players are just overpriced, and Russia don't keep many clean sheets. And most of the defenders are like 5 million, 5.5 million for Fernandez. I mean, Zhirkov's 6 million. If you pay that for Zhirkov, then you've lost it. You've absolutely lost the plot. Zuba's 8.5. We know what he can do, but I still wouldn't go near it. I still wouldn't touch it. I think there's better options. I think that is the issue for Russia. I think there's better options elsewhere in the tournament, elsewhere in the group. I think Belgium will just absolutely steamroll everyone they come up against, and then it will be down to Denmark just to fill in the extra space.
I completely agree. We will, because I don't think there's a great deal to say about Russia. Obviously, like we've mentioned, they're good players and stuff, but I don't think there's much to expand on that. We'll go on to Finland, because Finland are actually quite an interesting side to talk about. It's the first time ever that they've qualified for a European Championship. They won 6 of their 10 qualifying games. Pukki scored 10 times in 10 games as well. Their manager, Markku Kanerva, has kind of been in their system for a while. He managed the under-21s team before. And this is really historic for them, their first ever tournament in the European Championships. I mean, it's really exciting for them. Obviously, Pukki is he's the main man. Obviously, it's the whole kind of Pukki party thing. But I mean, elsewhere, the goalkeeper's quite good, and Lucas Hredsky. Sorry, it's difficult pronouncing his name, but Glenn Kamara from Rangers, Robbie, who you might be familiar with, obviously Scottish football.
I don't think he's going to tear the world apart in the Euros, but for Rangers this season, he's probably been one of their best players. He's very dynamic. He gets about the park. He'll cause teams issues, but I think they're just a golfing class between Finland and the rest of the teams in the group. Even comparing them to Russia, I think Russia might actually miss out on best third. I can't imagine that happening. I can imagine them being one of the 2 teams who don't actually make it through as third. But I think it's also crazy that they've got a defender called O'Shaughnessy. Like, that is crazy. Finland have got a player called O'Shaughnessy. I think that's so funny. Whenever I see it, the centre half's called that, I'm like, how have you ended up in Finland with a name like that? But elsewhere, we know what Pukki can do. I think he'll probably get a few consolations, but I don't think there's much else to say really about Finland. And Hideki actually is on the bench for me as my keeper. I mean, for keepers, it's obviously very hard to find. It's like lock-ins, and Hideki, he's 4 million. So he's the cheapest you can possibly get is 4 million, and he's going to start. So I'm like, why not? Why not have him on the bench anyway? Just to, have a cobweb on the bench. He probably won't. I won't ever use him, but he's there anyway.
Yeah, and obviously, I think that's a good shout. And obviously, I think, I know it's like the obvious thing. If I was to recommend anyone, I would obviously say Pukki, but that's obviously, it's like saying that if you should put Ronaldo in for Portugal. It's an obvious thing, but I completely agree with you on the goalkeeper situation. So we've kind of summarised the teams, and obviously Russia, Denmark, and Belgium. So I'll say mine first. Like we did this last time, where we think they'll finish. I personally think it'll be Belgium top, Denmark second. I think Finland third and Russia fourth. That's my prediction. I think the third and the fourth is interchangeable, but I think the top 2, I'm pretty certain on the top 2. What's your standings?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll keep quite a close eye on this group. Being realistic, Scotland probably will not get in the top 2, so I'm thinking possibly third place. This is a group that both teams can maybe only pick up 1 point. They could draw both games and then lose against Denmark and lose against Belgium. Sorry, so fingers crossed that happens. But I think possibly Russia could just finish above Finland, but I wouldn't make any changes to yours really. Like I don't think both teams will get through, even as like best third. Because if you guys don't know, it is 4 out of the 6 third place teams. So the 4 teams that do the best manage to get through into the last 16, which is quite interesting. And I like the concept, obviously, because we are probably going to be, in and about that.
I think I guess it gives teams like Scotland a chance. I mean, Portugal came third and won it last time, so
with 3 points. It's not even as if they came, they won a game and then maybe drew one. I think 4 points actually almost guarantees you in. So, I mean, it's not over for any of these teams.
100%. Obviously, so me and Robbie are kind of saying similar things in terms of group standings. we maybe prove very wrong. Who knows? Belgium might have a disaster and come fourth, but I can't see it. We're going to move on to Group C now. It's another interesting group. So it's Holland, Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia. We will start with Holland. Obviously, they're a so-called European giant, aren't they? They won the Euros 1988. Obviously, it's quite a long time ago, but that's more than England have won it. Their problem, obviously, has been the fact that Ronald Koeman left. He was doing fantastic things there. They bred through kind of young, exciting players, obviously kind of bred in like Memphis or De Ligt, and a lot of the Ajax players, like Donny van de Beek even. He went to manage Barcelona. Van Dijk then got injured quite severely, and Frank de Boer came in, who, I mean, he just seems like a dreadful coach, to be honest. No disrespect to the guy, but he seems appalling. So it's an interesting place for them now. They've still got a lot of quality in their team. They've got obviously De Ligt, De Vrij, Ake, Frank de Jong, Donny van de Beek, Jorginho Wijnaldum, Memphis Depay. Like, they've got a lot of exciting players. But Holland in recent years, they've not qualified for tournaments and they've been on a massive downfall, but they're starting to kind of have a new team come through now, which is promising. I mean, how do you see Holland doing in this group?
I think, well, for me, I'm targeting the group. You know, I'm targeting Holland, I'm targeting Austria, in certain games. I obviously watched the Netherlands play against Scotland. They were not great, but they had glimpses of absolute, magic. To be honest, it wasn't actually a foul. I don't know if you've seen it, Alexei. It definitely wasn't a foul. I think everyone could agree with that. Memphis Depay did go down easy. The referee was giving absolutely everything. But then you can't take away the masterclass, the free kick afterwards. But De Ligt actually came out after the game and said, look, we have not played five at the back before. We don't really want to play it. That is kind of what I got from it. So I do believe they'll go with a 4 at the back and they'll go with a 4-3-3. But in this team, guys, I think they'll get through. I don't think they'll go far though, because as you say, De Boer is not a good manager. He never has been and he never will. Players to look out for, obviously Depay, Wijnaldum as well. I mean, I've got three players in my team, in my fantasy team. I've got Depay, who's 10 million. I think he, I don't know if you always didn't watch a game. You probably watched the England game. He's just better than everyone, and Scotland are better than Macedonia. We're probably better than Ukraine. Probably at the same level as Austria. He'll absolutely breeze that group. And then you go further back, obviously Wijnaldum. I've got him in my team as well. 8 million. He plays a more advanced role for the Netherlands. He actually got an assist for Depay's first goal. Again, just one of those things, can't defend against that. And you go further back, I mean, there's literally options everywhere. You could even use Burgos. Even, who I'm talking about. He's only 7 million and he's likely to start if they play a 4-3-3 formation. If they play a 5 at the back, then probably not. But the one issue for the Netherlands that just came out recently is Jasper Cillessen has been left out of the squad due to injury. So basically, it's a toss-up between Tim Krul and Martin Stekelenburg, which are both, in fantasy, by the way, they're both only 4.5 million in a group like that. I mean,
it seems like a good option, doesn't it?
The issue is, mate, Frank de Boer has come out and said both keepers are going to play a game each, so we won't know what keeper actually starts in goals.
Oh God! What a way of managing that is.
But the other player that I've got in is Wijnaldum, who is the left back, and his goal contributions for his country has been just next level recently. And he's only 4.5 million as well. I like to say you should be writing these down, getting the guys in. I've seen so many drafts with this guy in it. Him and Dumfries as well, just good options. Just good options to take with you. And a pretty easy group. To be honest, I'd say it's probably one of the easiest groups out of them all. I think Netherlands have fallen lucky.
Yeah, I think if they were in a more difficult group, they would struggle a lot. I mean, I still can see them slipping up, but I think they'll go through. I mean, we'll move on to the next team, which is Ukraine. It's strange with Ukraine, obviously. Because Andrei Shevchenko is in charge, which makes me feel quite old. Obviously, he was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal forward. But yeah, he's now managing Ukraine. I believe he's in politics as well, doing some various things. But yeah, their best ever finish, obviously, is a group stage Euros 2012, 2016. They've never been great in this competition. There's kind of a perception with them as well. Their form was quite good before 2020, but obviously COVID-19 happened and it got delayed a year. And since then, their form's kind of fell off a cliff a bit. But to be honest, when you're looking at the key players in that team, you're kind of looking at Yarmolenko, who obviously West Ham pedigree, and Zinchenko as well from Manchester City. I mean, there's a lot of talk with him that they kind of think he's too good to be at left back, so he might go into midfield, which would make sense because obviously there's a lot of value in having someone in your side who plays for a Pep Guardiola team. It's so attuned at passing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, whenever Alexander Zinchenko used to play, in Ukraine, he used to play in attacking midfield. So he definitely could play the role. I think just, the Manchester City crisis at left back, he fitted in perfectly. But I'm looking at their team just now, and I'm like, they're definitely underdogs. I don't mean to win it, but they could go, a decent distance in the tournament. They've got a good basis. They've got a good, kind of build up of team. They've got Malinovsky of Atlanta, who I'll 100% be drafted in for match day 2 against Macedonia, and the Limitless. So I'll be drafting him in, possibly even Yaremchuk as well up front. He's only 7 million. Yaremchuk, I'm sure he plays for Ghent in Belgium, who he's apparently had an absolute sensational season. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to actually seeing them play. They've got Netherlands on the first day. Maybe they could surprise them. Maybe they could shock them. I'm sure they picked up points against France recently as well. So no, don't rule them out. Do not rule them out. And Yarmolenko, we know what he can do as well. Obviously, West Ham attacker. For me, he's overrated. He's 8.5 million on this, but
bit much, isn't it? Really,
bit much, yeah. Especially now he can get the other guy up front for 7 million.
Yeah,
but he's Yarmolenko. He's a household name. Don't rule him out. And that's what I think. It goes for Austria as well. Don't rule them out. They should be underdogs. And there's quite a lot of teams like that in it who could come third, possibly scrape through and actually make a name for themselves, actually do their country proud, and take it that wee bit further and celebrate at least from that.
Yeah, 100%. We'll move on to Austria, who, I mean, looking at their players, I'm actually quite excited about them, and I think I'm going to tip them to go through the group. In fact, I mean, so their FIFA rankings 23. Obviously, they are viewed quite low down. Their best ever finish was group stages 2008, 2016. They've not got a lot of pedigree in this tournament, but do have some good players. David Alaba, obviously in defence, off to Real Madrid, superb footballer. We know about him, but Marcel Sabitzer is a very, very exciting player. Hinteregger, very exciting centre-back. Lena, Lima, Schlanger. Interestingly, all of those players come from kind of the Red Bull way, which is like Salzburg or Leipzig and stuff. And yeah, I mean, they've got Sabitzer is a really, really good creative outlet for them. Really, really good. And it's similar to kind of what we were saying about Denmark, where it's like you're kind of teetering on a really good spine here. I mean, I'm quite excited to watch them. The coach, Franco Foda, is in charge. I mean, this sounds a bit familiar to me. So he's got a group of young and exciting players who he could play really progressive football with, but he chooses to be a bit more conservative than he should be, maybe, which has got criticism. Sounds a lot like a certain Mr. Southgate. They drew 2-2 with Scotland in qualifying, Robbie. I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, they lost 4-0 to Denmark, who we were talking about earlier. But I think they've got a lot more good players than Ukraine have when you look at it on paper. They've got quite a brilliant defence. Lima in midfield's really good. Obviously, Alaba in defence as well. So Bit's a really good player. And it's probably their best ever generation of footballers for Austria. What do you think about them? I mean, they seem quite an exciting side, don't they?
Yeah, well, when obviously I've seen them play against Scotland. They looked a great team. They were really good. They were conservative, which was an issue. I'm so surprised they managed to score 2. But they were just, big guys. They could just put themselves about, like Hinteregger, like Dragovic. But they've got a bit of a goalkeeper crisis as well, just like the Netherlands. So Bachmann played against England, but Schlager's usually the keeper. So that's, personally for me, if I was a manager, I would have to go with a keeper before the tournament, before the friendlies, and be like, look, you're playing the games. I think it's just unneeded, media attention.
I agree with you. Yeah.
About that. But yeah, they've got a good basis, as you said. They're all kind of from the Red Bull organisation, almost most of the team. They've got Lima. Sabitzer plays much further forward in an attacking role. Alaba will probably play left mid, left wing. He doesn't really seem to play in defence because they've got Dragovic and Hinteregger, and then they've obviously got Ulmer at left back, who plays for RB Salzburg. And going forward, the one guy, Mr. Underrated in this tournament, and I've seen how good he was against Scotland. Kalashnik is probably one of the best youngsters I think I've seen for a while. He's like 6'4", gets his head on absolutely everything. He's still getting there. He's a young guy. Plays for Stuttgart, had an absolutely amazing season. His numbers for Austria are like, he scores basically every game he plays. And he's 100% in my fantasy team. Kalashnik, he's so good. Honestly, just look up clips of him. I don't know if you've seen much of him. He's different. He's not like a Haaland. He's going to kind of hold up, play off me type player, which could benefit them because they've got players like Alaba, Sabitzer, Lima, Lazaro around them. So why not? Why not do that? Why not play to your strengths? And I do believe that they'll be the dark horses of the tournament.
That's a big, very interesting shout. I will actually look out for him now when I watch them play. I mean, it's good you pointed out.
7.5 million as well. That most strikers are like 8.5 and above who you actually want, and he's starting striker, and he's cheap, and he'll start over Marko Arnautovic as well, which just shows you how good he actually is.
Yeah, I mean it's their best ever generation of players. It seems they've got a good young side, and obviously like the players you've mentioned as well. And yeah, we'll look out for him. We'll make that he can be your kind of dark horse young player we look at, and I'll try and think of one as well, and we'll see how they both get on. We'll pit them against each other.
Him and Mele from Denmark as well, the left back. Those two guys are the guys who are really standing out to me, and I'm excited to actually see them in the tournament. I think they've just got a lot of potential. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to think out the box here. I'm not going for
the opposite one.
Of. Well, David Turnbull as well as Scotland. He was sensational against the Netherlands over the week there, and he got praise from all over the world. I've actually seen TikToks about it in the last week, so it'll be interesting to see him as well. But yeah, I'd say those three guys are my wonder kids for the tournament.
There you go. Very, very good shouts there from Robbie. I'm very interested to see how they get on. So we'll move on now to, I believe, the final team in this group. And this is an interesting one. It's North Macedonia. Obviously, first ever tournament for them. I mean, they've always been kind of, I don't want to say mocks because it sounds rude, but if England used to play them a lot and we just beat them easily. It's kind of just one of those teams, but they've done really well to qualify. They beat Kosovo and Georgia. Obviously, they beat Germany a few weeks ago. Was it a few months ago? I don't know. I've lost track of time. Not too long ago, they beat Germany 2-1, I believe. Timo Werner missed a lot of chances, but that feels significant. It shows. I think they're one of those teams, maybe a bit like Greece, where a team comes along every now and then who you don't look at their team and think they've got loads of good players. I mean, the standout one's Pandev, who's 38, but they've got that kind of, I know it sounds like a very basic point, but that team spirit that just gets them through games and that kind of grit. And we saw that against Germany. And it's a miracle they've even qualified, to be honest. And yeah, they're the weakest team in the tournament, but they've got exciting players. 21-year-old winger Elif Elmas, and obviously a familiar name who we both know is Alioski from Leeds. Is North Macedonian. He will be playing for them. He's a very good player.
Actually, penalties, Alexei, as well. So, you get 6 points for a goal. Doesn't matter if it's a penalty or not. So Alioski's possibly a shout that you could have on your bench. If someone does bad, then why not just trade them in for the next game, the next day. And you never know. You do need some of those guys in the bench. Maybe Rostovsky as well. I don't know if you're going to mention him. He plays for Dynamo Zagreb. The right back, he used to play for Roma. So yeah, I mean, he's got a wee bit of experience, I suppose. And the only other guy that I know, as you said, Pandev. And then the other guy I know, I've heard of Bardi as well. Apparently he's kind of a talisman. And he basically scores all their goals. And he's one of their chance creators. So that's why I'm quite surprised that Alioski's on the penalties. But it's a shout and it's there.
Yeah,
but
and
never heard the half.
With North Macedonia as well, I mean, it might be a good shout to have some of their players in your team. I mean, maybe an Alioski or something, just because don't underestimate the power of just a team that's really unified and it's like their first time and they feel like, I don't mean to patronise Wales. I know they've probably got a bit more history than North Macedonia, but look how well Wales did at the last tournament. And, I mock Scotland, but it could be a similar thing for Scotland where you just have this kind of team spirit and some quality and it gets you through. And North Macedonia might work that just a bit harder than other teams in the group who are used to being in these tournaments. And yeah, I think it would be an incredible thing if they could progress out of this group. But yeah, I mean, like Robbie said, Alioski is probably the best shout just because he's on penalties. And obviously, as Manchester United fans, we know, well, we did last week, but penalties usually equal goals. So Alioski is a great shout, and I think it's going to be really exciting to watch North Macedonia. But yeah, we'll go. What's your rankings for this group then? Because I think I'm going to go. I'm going to be different again, like I was the other day with that Italy-Turkey thing. I'm going to go with Austria to win the group, and I'm going to go Netherlands second. Should I do it? I'm going to do it. North Macedonia third and Ukraine fourth.
Why? Like, can I ask why you would put Ukraine that far bottom? Because for me, I look at Ukraine and I think they're an upcoming team. They've got players like Maliovsky, they've got players like Zinchenko, and they've got basically the Shakhtar defence as well, the Zagreb defence as well, and it's like they're a bit of a unit. That's the way I look at them. And you look at Macedonia and I'm like, they didn't even actually get through. Normally they got through the way that Scotland get through, so it wasn't even as if they got through like properly. We got through the playoffs in a different competition in the Nations League against poorer teams. Like even Scotland were coming up against teams like Norway. We had to beat Israel. When you had to beat who was it? We went in the final. Serbia. Yeah, we beat Serbia in the final, and we put Slovakia out in the group stage. So it's not as if we were against idiots, whereas Macedonia were. Macedonia were against like Gibraltar and San Marino, like teams like that, and it's like if anyone was in that group, they could get through it.
In 2004, Greece didn't qualify properly, did they? There was some. All I'm saying.
No.
I'm saying, I've got this.
They're not like Greece though. They're not like Greece though.
Well,
Macedonia actually have like
When North Macedonia win the Euros in a month's time, you're going to look very silly. No, I mean,
Okay.
I just have this kind of weird feeling with them. I was really impressed by the fact they beat Germany, and obviously, while it's just a one-off game and it doesn't really bear much significance, I think it does. It shows they can beat a really good opposition on their day.
Yeah.
And if it will mean when they're playing a team like Holland, they'll think we've got a chance here. Why not? We beat Germany. It's our first ever tournament.
That's what I think with Scotland now. I'm like, we've drawn against Netherlands with half a team. Why can we not go and do something better? And I think you need that unity, as you said earlier on. You need that unity if you're going to do anything in the tournament.
Yeah,
I don't mean win it. Like, one of my friends said this to me, and it's sad saying this, but see, as long as we just score goals and they give us something to celebrate, and they really, wear the badge and put the shirt on as if they want to be there, as if they, as if the manager wants to be there as well, then I can't complain. And I think that is what Macedonia will be like. I think Macedonia, are kind of one of those teams where they've not got much going for them. I mean, I look at their team and I'm just like, no. So I'd probably put them fourth, possibly maybe pick up a point. Do you think one of the teams will finish third and go through into the knockout round, or do you think they'll be one of the worst teams that will finish? They'll miss out. The third place team will miss out, because obviously only 4 teams get through as best third, and then 2 teams don't get through, finish third, because they might not pick up enough points or goal difference possibly.
So it depends. That all depends on North Macedonia. If North Macedonia surprise everyone and do well, that will probably reduce the chance of the third place team going through. If North Macedonia are just, they just get stumped, that's at least 3 points, obviously, for the 3 other teams, which will make one of them go through, presumably. So, yeah, it's really difficult to say with that. I think it depends on them.
The way that I look at it, Alexei, it's like, let's say that, Macedonia and Ukraine draw, right? Let's just say that. Let's just say Ukraine would be third. If they draw, then it's all on Ukraine to go on. They need to beat Austria, they need to beat Denmark, they need to beat one of those teams to stand a chance of finishing best third. So that's a very, hard one. If Macedonia really pick up points against one of the worst teams in the group, then, but if they pick it up against the Netherlands, then it's quite a good chance that the 3 teams in the group will go through. But I can't imagine Macedonia going through. I think it'll be the Netherlands top. I think it'll be last 16, maybe quarterfinal exits. Depends who they get in the knockout stages, obviously. And also I think Ukraine will finish second, and I think Austria will be best third. I think they're both very good teams. And I think you can't rule them out. You can't rule them out whenever they're up against the Netherlands, to be honest, because they seem to be kind of all over the place at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how they cope under the pressure against 3 pretty average but well set up teams.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, all these groups are really fascinating because you can't. Obviously, we are, but it is really difficult to predict, isn't it? Because with most of them, some of the teams are at similar levels and stuff. So. You
can't really use you can't really use like stats, like head-to-head stats or anything like that, obviously, because it's been so long ago. So you're kind of running off friendlies, you're kind of running off what happened in the last few weeks. You can run off player stats, I would say, but actually head-to-head, it's all kind of out the window, and every game just feels like a one-off game, which that's why I love it. It's so different compared to the Premier League. It's so different compared to any club level. It's just different, and you won't get anything like it anywhere else.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's why I love international tournaments. They're just completely fascinating, month-long periods. But yeah, so we're going to wrap it up there. We've covered Group B and Group C, both very interesting groups. There's not a single game that I'm probably not going to watch in this tournament. I can't wait to watch all of them, all these teams. It's been really. I think me and Robbie have both enjoyed kind of having a little research into these teams as well. It's just something different because we usually talk about United, obviously, but it's a nice difference. There's Man United have just tweeted something. I've got to mention this because I believe Ahmed will be doing a show about this later if people want to know more. But it's just Manchester United have tweeted something from Joel Glazer saying fans are the lifeblood of Manchester United, and I'm personally committed to ensuring they have given an enhanced voice. So that seems a bit crazy, but Ahmed will be covering that later if anyone wants to go and see that. I'm sure you do. Very interesting subject. Me and Robbie will be back tomorrow with bits and bobs, and Ahmed as well. If you want to join the Fantasy League, the code is on the screen right now. Obviously, follow us on Twitter if you can. It'd be very much appreciated on YouTube. And yeah, only 7 days to go. We will be back tomorrow, myself and Robbie, for the one we've all been waiting for, the England-Scotland preview, where we can finally let out all our rivalries. It's the first time since I've known Robbie that we've been supporting different football teams. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, thanks, Robbie, for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow. And thanks everyone for